This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, August 25th, 2020, getting into the week. We've got a lot to talk about today, and as usual, I'm going to talk about news until I run out of news, at which point we'll open the phone lines for your comments, questions, observations, and opinions here. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials, keeping us out of trouble, and he'll be taking your calls when you do call on in. So let's get right on into it. Obviously, the Republican National Convention is open for business. Apparently, they did a better job of it than the Democrats did. And according to this one article I'm looking at over in Hideout Now, it was so beautiful, just what America needed. Now, apparently on C-SPAN, viewership of the Republican National Committee, Convention, was 6 times higher than for the Democratic National Convention. So the DNC struggled badly with ratings last week, performing poorly via online streaming and dropping 25% in broadcast viewership on the first night, hitting a massive 48% decline by the second night of the convention. So that is very telling right there. And apparently the RNC is doing a lot better. A lot of speakers are out there. They're going to have Melania Trump, one of the speakers tonight. And there's a bit of a difference between the, shall we say, the presentation of the Democrats and the Republicans, because the Democrats were out there in attack mode. Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. And the Republicans are not only saying what they want to do, but why. And that why, I think, is resonating with a lot of the voters out there. Apparently, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who used to be with Fox News, and now she's the girlfriend of Trump's son, gave this really amazing speech, guns blazing speech. And everybody just really said she raised the roof on that one. Nikki Haley, in her speech, dropped hints that she might run in 2024. And so former U.S. envoy to the UN, Nikki Haley, has sparked rumors that she's eyeing the White House after using her address to support U.S. President Donald Trump while also laying out her own vision for the country. Dead giveaway. Haley accused Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and his party of blaming America first and pushed back on the notion that America is racist. That is a lie. America is not a racist country. This is personal for me, Haley said. Okay, Republicans reveal a plan to teach American exceptionalism if Trump is reelected. Critics, of course, are slamming the idea and saying that no, we can't teach American exceptionalism. We've got to teach that America is, basically the same as everybody else, and that all are equal. Whites and blacks and grays and browns and peach, taupe, and mauve are all equal, and nobody's exceptional. Well, we've been exceptional in some areas, putting a man on the moon for one. So President Donald Trump's second-term agenda includes a list of 50 points covering a variety of topics, but the goal to teach American exceptionalism has his critics especially outraged. In a bullet point press release put out just before the RNC, where Trump will officially accept his party's nomination, education is actually the least focused in only 2 goals, compared to the many that accompany other areas like drain the swamp and end our reliance on China. The 2 points that will be the administration's objectives for education are provide school choice to every child in America and teach American exceptionalism. I don't have a problem with either one of those, by the way. I really don't. Now, last night, the McCloskeys spoke. Now, the McCloskeys, of course, are that couple that defended their home with legally owned firearms, only to be charged for illegal use of a firearm by an ambitious and clearly clueless prosecutor. The McCloskeys are warning that violence and riots are going to come to a neighborhood near you if you are not prepared. And they're absolutely right. We're seeing it now happening in Wisconsin and now Louisiana. Now, a lot of people are talking about Mike Pompeo. He's going to be speaking tonight in a taped message coming from Jerusalem. And it sort of brushes up against a policy he personally approved that prohibits Senate-approved officials from participating in political events. So, He's going to have a speech broadcast during the RNC. The State Department has already issued a statement distancing themselves from Mike Pompeo, saying he's there in his personal capacity as Mike Pompeo. It's got nothing to do with our foreign policy. No State Department resources were used in the taping and transmission of this speech. So Nancy Pelosi was out there saying he can't do that, he can't do that, he can't do that. Pelosi's been all over the air today, screaming about, how Republicans are enemies of the people and enemies of the nation, enemies of the state. I think she used that phrase as well. Now, Florida businessman Maximo Alvarez, who's a Cuban immigrant, came close to tears as he talked about how those in his native Cuba were deceived by Fidel Castro, and Americans should not make the same mistake of allowing the, liberalism and socialism to take over the country. Senator Tom Scott closes out the first night of the RNC with an inspiring speech that included the quote, "Our family went from cotton to Congress in one lifetime," and it drew high praise from online viewers. Okay. Anyway, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, Speaker Pelosi labels President Trump and Republicans domestic enemies, enemies of the state. So, in other words, Nancy Pelosi has just declared war on half the country and said half the country are enemies of the state. Now, Hillary Clinton is bragging about how Democrats are going to try and steal the election and says Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances, and that in point of fact, if Trump does win by a narrow enough margin, they're going to mount all kinds of legal challenges. Remember back in 2016 when they kept saying, will you accept the results of the election? Well, apparently that was good enough for Trump, but not good enough for 2020 and the Democrats here. White supremacist Richard Spencer has endorsed Joe Biden. And Trump supporters are wondering if the media will ask Biden to disavow Spencer as vociferously as they demanded Trump disavow David Duke. Well, too late already, because the Democratic nominee's campaign has already said that his support is 10,000% unwelcome. Okay, now getting on to that vote by mail, that is still going on. And the fact of the matter is, nobody can prove that this is going to be an honest election with vote by mail. There is no way to guarantee one vote for one person that's entitled to vote legally. It's just wide open for fraud. Trump is right about that. And the Democrats are trying to use the COVID-19 to scare people into using vote by mail so that they can play with the ballots. But even NPR is admitting that in-person voting isn't as risky as alarmists claim. And let's face it, if you can show up in person to protest for mail-in balloting, you can show up to vote in person. And they're talking about maybe having curbside pickups instead. And the idea is to prevent people from stuffing the ballot boxes, because a lot of those ballot collection boxes, like the mailboxes, they're unguarded, they're unmonitored. Somebody could go up literally with a box full of ballots and shove them in there. It's wide open for fraud, and I think that's what the Democrats are counting on. Okay, Eric Trump, pardon me, and the Trump Organization are being sued by New York Attorney General Letitia James, requesting a judge order Executive Vice President Eric Trump to hand over financial documents on 4 separate Trump properties and testify in an upcoming trial related to the office's ongoing civil probe into the Trump Organization's financial dealings. James announced on Monday via social media that Eric Trump, the second son of U.S. President Donald Trump and current executive responsible for all operations and management of the Trump Organization, is now at the center of a lawsuit filed on Friday in the Manhattan-based New York Supreme Court. The Trump Organization has stalled, withheld documents, and instructed witnesses, including Eric Trump, to refuse to answer questions under oath. Letitia James said in a series of tweets on August 24th, accusing the company of refusing to comply with the office's subpoenas for months. Okay, the U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy had another meeting before Congress during a House Oversight Meeting Committee yesterday, titled Protecting the Timely Delivery of Mail, Medicines, and Mail-in Ballots, denied allegations that his recent reforms to the U.S. Postal Service were made to disrupt mail-in balloting in the November presidential election. Many of the claims were made by Democrats on Capitol Hill who accused DeJoy of incompetence at best, criminality at worst, and blame him for slowdowns in the Postal Service. Well, let's be honest, the Postal Service hasn't been all that fast of late, long before they started talking about mail-in ballots. Sometimes I think the increase in postage isn't for an increase in service, it's an increase in rent for how long they hold the mail. All right, so let's talk about what's happening over in Wisconsin with Jacob Blake. He is reportedly paralyzed from the waist down. He's got 8 holes in his body after being shot in the back by police in front of his son on his 8th birthday. There's a new video that has emerged of him fighting with officers moments before, which doesn't justify them shooting him in the back 8 times. But the father of Jacob Blake says the 29-year-old is paralyzed from the waist down. The doctors don't know yet if the paralysis will be permanent. But Blake is now in stable condition in the hospital after undergoing surgery. So this has just exploded. Kenosha burns. Black Lives Matter protesters set light to a Department of Corrections building and local businesses while looters run riot in protest at the Jacob Blake police shooting. It's a second night of mayhem in Kenosha. Rioters pour accelerant inside garbage truck, set it on fire. The National Guard has moved in at the orders of Wisconsin Governor Evers. So it's a nasty mess. And the Kenosha riots prove this can happen anywhere, that somebody gets shot by the police. And by the way, where are the protests over that black guy who shot that white 5-year-old kid in the head, execution style? Why are we not seeing protests about that? That's what I want to know. So, up in Portland, the violence is continuing there. Protesters cheer after a police precinct is set ablaze on the 88th night of rioting. Antifa is clashing with Proud Boys in Portland. The police refused to declare a riot and have decided to let violent brawls, quote, resolve themselves, end quote. Responding to criticism over why the Saturday events downtown were not declared a riot, Portland police said the officers were heavily outnumbered and lacked crowd control resources to address such a massive and violent gathering. All over the place here. Apparently, Black Lives Matter militants ran for their lives after a Milwaukee homeowner fired warning shots at protesters. They were screaming, "This dude is shooting at us." Apparently, there's been another shooting incident over in Bedford County, Pennsylvania, last night, where a homeowner fired warning shots at the protesters. And there's been another officer-involved shooting down in Louisiana. They fatally shot a 31-year-old black man. And so we've got protests and police clashing in Lafayette, Louisiana. On Saturday night, protesters blocked traffic as they gathered on Moss Street in Lafayette near a police precinct to protest Pellerin's death. Police in riot gear gave a 10-minute warning before releasing flares and smoke canisters into the crowd of protesters. Afterward, interim Lafayette Police Chief Scott Morgan drew a distinction between protesters who organized an event earlier in the day and those he said chose to be malicious. He said people blocked important roadways and started several fires in a grass area, and police observed some throwing fireworks into one of their buildings. It's amazing. Just amazing. All right, let's turn to the international news now. Eskander Momeni, Director General of Iran Drug Control Headquarters, said Monday that not only has the U.S. war in Afghanistan caused an explosion in poppy cultivation, but also that U.S. military aircraft are smuggling drugs out of the country. We've covered this before, with the opium in Afghanistan and why all of a sudden we're seeing cheap opium flood the streets of the United States, not to mention Russia, which Russia's not happy about. Anyway, the Iranian Students News Agency reported Monday that Momeni blamed the U.S. for the explosion of the Afghan drug trade over the last 20 years. In the year 2000, the total production of narcotics in Afghanistan stood at about 200 tons, which rose to over 9,000 tons in 2017, an increase of about 50 times, Momeni said during a Monday video conference with National Anti-Drug Coordination Councils. Based on reliable information, planes operated by NATO and the United States transport these illicit drugs to our neighboring country. Illicit drugs in our neighboring country. It's all about the opium. Wasn't just the oil, it was the opium. Last January, there was a Ukrainian passenger plane that was downed on January 8 by Iranian forces. Analysis of the black boxes shows it was hit by 2 missiles 25 seconds apart, and that passengers were alive for some time following the first strike. Okay, the IAEA chief has visited Tehran and is asking for access to former sites. The sites in question are a pair of sites that the IAEA has claimed might have been nuclear sites based on Israeli allegations and U.S. backing of Israeli allegations. The U.S. has pushed the IAEA to investigate the sites. Iran did grant the IAEA access before, and it didn't find anything definitive one way or another. They've kept asking for extra visits, even though Iran insisted neither was relevant to their nuclear program, and that letting them just keep visiting it keeps it unresolved forever. This put things in an endless loop where the U.S. will ensure the IAEA keeps saying the issue is open and Iran can't resolve the matter outright and has to just keep responding or be accused of a cover-up. Now, this next story, this is very, very significant because apparently Iran, using the Russian-made radar Resonance NE, which Iran purchased to identify and track stealth aircraft, successfully spotted and tracked U.S. F-35 fighters near the country's borders during an aggravation of tensions at the beginning of 2020, following the death of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. So let's look at the F-35. Can't fly at its top speed. Parts of it come off. Can't fire the gun without bending the frame. Can't fly in the rain. Can't fly near lightning. And now we're finding out it's not even all that stealthy. And how much did that thing cost? Amazing. Russia and Turkey agree on delivery of a second S-400 missile system regiment. Russia and Turkey have signed a contract to deliver a second regiment of S-400 air defense systems to Turkey, the Russian state arms exporter Rosboronexport said Sunday. Rosboronexport Director General Alexander Mikheev did not disclose further details when speaking to Novosti News Agency. In 2017, Russia and Turkey finalized a deal worth about $2.5 billion to supply Ankara with S-400 systems. Delivery was completed last year. Turkey is the first member of NATO to purchase such air defense missile system from Russia. And the United States was not at all happy about that. You buy your weapons from us, gall darn it. Japan is getting ready to scrap a U.S. missile defense system for the Aegis Ashore system. And Japan has scrapped the deployment of this system days after saying the program had been suspended. Interceptors for the Aegis Ashore system were to be placed in 2 regions under the costly and controversial program, but the government reversed course under pressure from local residents concerned about the risks posed by a missile defense system in their backyard, meaning it paints a target on them. Venezuela's Maduro thanks Iran for helping the oil industry overcome U.S. sanctions and floated the idea of purchasing missiles from the country. Washington maintains strict sanctions against Iran's oil industry to try and halt the country's nuclear program, which apparently doesn't really exist. Earlier this year, Tehran sent several gasoline cargoes to Venezuela to help it overcome fuel shortages, as well as equipment to help state oil company PDVSA repair its dilapidated refineries. We are helping each other, Maduro said in an interview broadcast on state television. I think the Iranian experience will help us reinforce our management capacity. He did not provide further details of how Iran was helping, noting he should maintain silence since we are in a war. Okay. A video of Alexander Lukashenko arriving at the Belarusian presidential palace with an assault rifle emerges online. And apparently he arrived at the palace in Minsk by helicopter and was seen holding an assault rifle in his hands. Notably, the rifle did not have a magazine, so it was all for show. Lukashenko is apparently ordering officials to fire all teachers who backed the opposition in the recent election. And Lukashenko has ordered all school teachers who do not support the state ideology be removed from their jobs, telling Education Minister Igor Karpenko they need to be dealt with. Belarusian society is currently going through a turbulent period following mass unrest caused by the presidential election results of August 9th, which were deemed by many to have been falsified. We got to take a break for commercial. We'll be right back.
Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we have been building our online store. Well, we have been focusing on bringing you the best talk show host in the country. Here at Republic Broadcasting Network, we also want our listeners to have products they can use every day and in times of emergency. We have added new products each week to our store. Your support of this network, plus products at the best prices, is a win-win situation. Check out our new store. Go to our website, republicbroadcasting.org, and click on the online store located at the top of our website. Together, we can continue to grow RBN and help our listeners prepare for the future. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and click on our online store or call us.
800-724-2719 extension 3. 800-724-2719 extension 3.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves.
Welcome back to our show here, and a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting is in a perpetual state of fundraising, and we need your help to stay on the air doing what we're doing, getting the information out there that you need to have so you can make good choices. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. All righty, getting on back to the news here. If the route to ultimately toppling Belarus Lukashenko goes through Moscow, as most serious analysts believe, then Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, runner-up in this month's disputed election, has taken a considerable diversion. On Monday, in the Lithuanian capital Vilnius, she met with U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Stephen Biegun in a move that will have raised concerns in the Kremlin. Russia has been asking Western states to keep out of the situation in Belarus, which is Moscow's chief military and political ally. In a statement, the State Department said Biegun had discussed strengthening democracy and human rights in the country with Tikhanovskaya in Vilnius. Translation: going to try and overthrow the government. The bulletin described her as an opposition leader and continued by affirming the U.S. commitment to Belarus sovereignty and territorial integrity and to the sovereign right of its people to elect their own leaders and determine their own future. So, down in Syria, Syrian troops have overtaken a major neighborhood in Aleppo. The development means that a large northern section of the city, including 10 neighborhoods and more than 3,000 buildings, is back under government control. Rami Abdurrahman of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said that nearly 30% of Aleppo's previously rebel-held areas are now back in state control. Russia's defense ministry said at least 100 rebels relinquished their weapons and left the city. President Bashar al-Assad's government has been fighting to recapture Aleppo from rebels since 2012, with estimates of more than 30,000 people killed in that time. Now, new Russian technology promises to allow military transports to touch down inside the Arctic Circle. And Russia's Ministry of Defense is considering making airfields out of ice within the Arctic Circle after developing a new technology that enables heavy aircraft to land without the need for an asphalt runway. That's pretty handy, pretty nifty to have. The Bauman Moscow State Technical University has created a system that uses special chemical reagents to change the structure of ice, enabling planes to touch down. In the future, heavy military transport aircraft such as the Ilyushin 76 will be able to land inside the Arctic Circle despite weighing around 100,000 kilograms when empty. That's pretty neat. Great Britain is reportedly debating scrapping their armored military divisions in favor of high-tech weapons. It's a radical plan being debated by the government that would see the British Army boost its air and cyber warfare capabilities while mothballing the armored fleet. And so they've outlined plans to deactivate the Army's Challenger 2 main battle tanks and the Warrior armored fighting vehicles as the costs of maintaining them have skyrocketed. Costs aside, the armored fleet, which consists of 227 Challengers and 388 Warriors, has reportedly been deemed as obsolete. Some in the military have argued that 21st century warfare will rely on cyber capabilities along with space-based and other cutting-edge warfighting technologies. Maybe. Apparently, China is arming Pakistan with advanced warships as threats of nuclear war with India escalate. When the Trump administration withheld billions of dollars in security aid to Pakistan in 2018, the logic then was that the Pakistani military would be forced to form greater ties with the U.S. and surrounding allies to reclaim lost aid. Fast forward today, the new reality, Pakistan has abandoned its West and its allies for China. Pakistan quickly bolstered ties with China via billions of dollars in Belt and Road projects over the last 2 years. China has also provided the Pakistani military with aircraft, weaponry, and other advanced hardware. Well, that's definitely a foreign policy whoopsie on the part of the United States here. Okay, let's talk about COVID-19. It's still out there. It's still being waved around at us. And apparently, with only 3 people per 100,000 currently hospitalized with COVID, the CDC has now dropped its 14-day quarantine for travelers, but the Democratic states keep their quarantines in place. CNN has proclaimed a national panic day as a rally of 500,000 bikers in South Dakota led to a whopping 22 additional COVID cases. Remember when the Sturgis motorcycle rally in South Dakota cranked up last week and everybody said, oh, it's all those sweating bikers. It's going to be an epidemic. 22 cases out of 500,000. Hong Kong has confirmed the first case of COVID-19 reinfection. And remember when the experts warned there was no credible evidence of coronavirus reinfection? Claiming the notion that patients can be reinfected is categorically absurd. Well, apparently it's happened. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website, by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new Ease Off Model Easy 4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The Ease Off lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the Ease Off? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my Ease Off?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new Easy 4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. Ease Off LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Hey, honey, I'm home. I grabbed the newspaper on the way home. Look at all the news today.
The newspaper? Don't you know that all you're going to get in the newspaper is propaganda, twisted news, and false information?
Honey, this is a national newspaper. It has to be true.
Ha! For some reason, a majority of the population believe anything the mainstream media tells them. The newspaper does not give out the important attention on what's happening to this country and news that affects our daily lives. Say, does that newspaper mention anything about the North American Union?
No, not that I can see.
I didn't think so. You need to go to www.newswithviews.com, where truth is more important than political correctness. That's www.newswithviews.com. Hey, don't throw that away. We can use that in the birdcage.
Okay, move over. Let me start reading newswithviews.com.
The truth? Read all about it at newswithviews.com. Newswithviews.com, where reality shatters illusion.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
After about a month of Extendovite, I don't know what it is about the circulation factor. I was able to increase the weight, increase the amount of sets I could do. It has to do with the oxygen getting to the blood. You should market this as an athletic performance. And I don't change anything about my diet or anything. I just thought, this is amazing. Bilberry extract is got something called resveratrol in it, which is the same stuff that you get from red wine. It's also good for eyesight. And I was reading that the Royal Air Force during World War II would give their pilots bilberry jam so they could have better night vision stuff. This is amazing.
To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what really happened?
Welcome back to our show here. And right now on Fox News, they're having the family and the attorney for Jacob Blake talking about his condition, and it does not sound very good. It's amazing he's still alive. And apparently a bullet did hit him in the spinal cord, and that's why he's paralyzed. And apparently he's had to have much of his small intestine removed. So I don't know if the police were using hollow points or not. We'll get back to that a little bit later. Getting on back to COVID-19, infectious diseases expert and University of Edinburgh professor Mark Woolhouse acknowledged the decision to lock down in March was a crude measure that was enacted because we couldn't think of anything better to do. He's describing the lockdown as a panic measure and a monumental mistake on a global scale. And he says, calling on government to unlock society before more damage is done. We certainly could use that here in the United States. I never want to see national lockdown again, he added. It's always a temporary measure that simply delayed the stage of the epidemic we see now. It was never going to change anything fundamentally. Well, that's what they said when the lockdowns began. It was to make sure that the hospitals didn't get overwhelmed, to slow down the infection, not reduce it or make it go away. Victoria's Dan Andrews has brought in some of the most draconian COVID-19 lockdown restrictions on the planet and now wants to keep them in place for another year or until a vaccine becomes available. All right, let's talk about the economic news here. In what can be described as Bank of America at its most apocalyptic, the bank's currency strategist Athanasios Vamvakidis, say that 3 times fast, takes us on a tour de force of where we've been, going through what comes next and which culminates in what might well be the ninth circuit of financial heck. Starting with the 3 red flags that have recently emerged across global economies, he then explains why nobody cares and why markets remain optimistic. The reason is MMT, in case anyone's confused, as deflation and not inflation is the risk today. As a result, nothing prevents more fiscal policy stimulus funded by more money printing, while central banks keep policy rates low for as long as necessary to help governments deal with the massive debts they're accumulating. Effectively, this is what markets are pricing in, as without inflation, there is no budget constraint. Austin Fitts warns nothing will ever be the same. We're entering into a war period. We are in the process of what I would call is a global reset. The entire financial system is being reset. There are 2 aspects of this. One is extending the old system, and the other is bringing in the new system. It's very much being done on the fly by trial and error, but the new system is 100% digital. Food Bank in Queens in New York has a 1/4 mile long line as 10,000 disparate families a week seek help amid 20% unemployment due to COVID-19. It's being described as a tsunami of people. The biggest losses in jobs have been in leisure and hospitality, with 249,700 jobs disappearing. Professional and business services, with 110,000 people in the sector now unemployed, and in trade, transportation, and utilities, where 102,000 people have lost their jobs. I mean, it's between the collapse of tourism and work at home and lockdown. It's bad all over. I just found out today, San Francisco has shut down the cable cars. And it's kind of hard to imagine San Francisco without the cable cars. But it definitely is there. Anyway, massive gold and silver shortages are almost here with Andy Schechtman. And in a historic reshuffling, Exxon, Pfizer, and Raytheon have been kicked out of the Dow Jones Industrial Average to be replaced by Salesforce, Amgen, and Honeywell. Okay, apparently John Oliver on his show ripped Danbury, Connecticut, and the mayor hits back by naming a sewage processing plant after him, saying they're both full of, well, you can fill in the blank word there. Now, this is a little silly, this next one here. Let there be light so long as it's decolonized. Right-on academics condemn the science of illumination as white, male-dominated. According to a new Canadian university project, physics is a mirror of colonial patterns and social inequality, particularly in the context of light. This is all not just baffling, it's dangerously bonkers. In the light of Black Lives Matter and the decision by Oriel College at Oxford University to move its statue of Sir Cecil Rhodes, the idea of decolonizing education has made serious headway, with many institutions now reworking curricula to better reflect diversity and Black and ethnic minority concerns. There are plenty of problems with that outlook. It suggests that ethnic minority writers and thinkers should be included in college courses because of the color of their skin rather than the brilliance of their ideas. It also suggests that students can only really learn if education is relevant to them. After decades of fighting for equality, it seems we're now re-racializing society. Worse, this re-racialization is seen as progressive. We're going backwards, people. We're absolutely going backwards. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open the phone lines now. 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443. Now, apparently, researchers from New Zealand analyzing plant fossils from a former lake discovered the levels of carbon dioxide in the early Miocene period exceed those recorded today. and they showed that Miocene plants had features that equipped them to grow in drier and hotter climate. With such enhanced plants, the high carbon levels provided a forest fertilization and effort. In other words, CO2 was saving the planet. Research confirms that high levels of CO2 result in global greening. And we've already seen that. As carbon dioxide has increased in our atmosphere, we're seeing deserts being reclaimed by forestry. Now, here's a cool story. An ensemble of citizen scientists have discovered 95 cool worlds close to our sun, celestial objects known as brown dwarfs that are larger than planets and of lighter weight than stars. And brown dwarfs are situated in weight between the lightest stars and the largest gas giants, although they have failed to sustain nuclear fusion using the hydrogen in their cores as normal stars do. Published in the Astrophysical Journal and on an arXiv.org preprint server, the research reveals that previously unrecognized substellar neighbors to the sun have been identified by the citizen scientist project Backyard Worlds Planet 9. See, there's still room for private citizens to engage in science. I think that's really very, very cool. University of Cambridge experts behind it have created an artificial photosynthesis device that mimics the ability of plants to convert sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into energy without electricity. University of Cambridge experts behind the device say it uses a form of artificial photosynthesis, the process used by plants to convert sunlight into energy. The device is based on an advanced photosheet technology and converts sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water into oxygen and formic acid, which is a storable fuel. This type of fuel can be either used directly in specially developed generators or by converting it into hydrogen, according to the Cambridge team. The wireless device could be scaled up and used on energy farms similar to solar farms, producing clean fuel using nothing but sunlight and water as its inputs. Well, that's pretty cool. Absolutely. Okay, you've probably heard the expression fast radio burst objects, and astronomers have discovered one that repeats every 157 days. And it's just done it again. And that, of course, makes it much easier to study because they know when it's going to turn on. Now, first discovered in 2012, the FRB is located in a dwarf galaxy 3 billion light years away, making it very difficult to monitor, requiring some of Earth's most powerful instruments. FRBs are intense blasts of radio waves, which can release as much power as hundreds of millions of suns in mere milliseconds. But the majority of them that we have observed have flared once, only to disappear, never to be seen again. So this FRB 121102, in that it's repeating, is going to change that. All right, we got some callers waiting on the line. Let's start with Kelly in Austin. Hello, Kelly. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
A couple of things, Mike. I heard today, maybe you can confirm this, but it was from a reliable source, that the NFL had tested the players, and they came back, they found that there were 77 positive tests. This was last week, and so they went back and did a second round of tests, and they all came back negative.
Yeah, I heard that.
If that's the case, how reliable can those tests be?
They're not reliable.
If you had 77 false positives there, how many other thousands or millions across this country are false positives?
Quite a few. You know, there were these nurses at a hospital who took 10 of the unopened test kits and sent them, faked the paperwork saying this is a test on thus and such a person. They sent them all back in, and they all came back positive, and they'd never even been exposed to a patient.
Yeah, I heard that. But yeah, that to me just underscores how unreliable and how fraudulent this whole thing is. Anyway, the other reason I call is that my hometown is Lafayette, Louisiana, and I know where that guy was shot. I heard there were riots there. My sister called me to tell me that there was some riotous activity Saturday. I'm not sure how it spilled out into the rest of the city, but knowing Lafayette as I do, I could tell you that if they think they're going to spill out down Jefferson Street and on down Johnston Avenue and into other areas of town, that won't go very far. That town will not put up with it. It's not Portland and it's not Seattle.
Yes.
And we believe in law and order there, and they will stop it dead in its tracks if they're going to wreak havoc through the rest of the town there. Somewhere, some city's just going to have to say, hell no, you're not going to do this. And I think Lafayette might be one of those cities where that happens. But I know where it happened, and that's a black area of town off of Moss Street, and it's an area where there have been some agitators who have been over the years who have been pushing for things over the years. There's a statue of a Confederate general downtown. Oh, they wanted to move it. And the city council told them, go to hell. They're not moving it. But this will be interesting to watch, especially since the hurricane has just blown through there.
Yes.
It might have put a damper on some of their activities. Anyway, I was intrigued about these false positives. And I'm curious whether or not the so-called mainstream media will even discuss those.
No, the corporate media has not discussed the lack of accuracy of these tests. That's something that you have to go to the independent media for.
Oh yeah, and I did hear as well about the English, the British. Was it a physician or a British politician who said that it was a big mistake to shut down.
Yes.
Shut down England activity in England. I heard one guy say this wasn't a mistake; it was a crime. the people who did that need to be held accountable, just as they need to be held accountable here.
Yes.
In this country. All right, Mike. Thanks much.
All right. Thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to switch over to Paul in Missouri. Hello, Paul. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, even if Trump wins the election, still nearly half of the American voting population and probably nearly half of the government officials are still communists, aka Democrats. My question is, short of a civil war in this country, how does America stomp out this communist infestation in our country? How do we put an end to it? Or is it even possible to ever stomp out communism in America?
Well, obviously being a peaceful sort of person, I'm hoping that everybody's going to vote this November in overwhelming numbers to overcome the Democratic vote rigging. Unfortunately, it seems to be part of the liberal Democratic instruction book, if you will, that the ends justify the means, and they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're going to try and steal this election.
I agree. And like I said, even if Trump wins, we still have them to deal with, whether that 4 years or the next 4 years or so on and so on. They're just going to keep trying to increase their tactics and stuff. Is it ever going to be possible to stomp out this communist infiltration in our population and in our government?
Well, the problem is, that socialism is very attractive to people who are underachievers, because it says, you can just sort of coast along and the government will take care of you. And that's very attractive to a certain class of individuals. For those people who want to work and make themselves better, though, that's a very frustrating system to live under. So we have to basically find the people who want to make their lives better, and we have to motivate them and mobilize them, and basically let the people know who want to coast along that you'll never have a really good life, if you wait for the government to pay you pay your bills. And again, as was pointed out last night at the RNC, every country that's tried socialism, it hasn't worked out in the long run. It's worked out very poorly for working people.
Yep. And then, when the Democrats do eventually get power, they want to import millions of low-educated people from the third world, Mexico and other places, that socialism, those benefits are even going to more appeal to. And I just don't see how America is ever going to overcome this problem with this socialism and this communism in a peaceful manner. I just don't see how it's going to happen.
No, it's going to have to collapse the way the Soviet Union did.
Yeah, it's going to have to get really bad, I think, before it gets better. And there's some people that advocate, if you've ever heard of the acceleration theory, that it's the sooner things get worse, the better it's going to be in the long run, because it's better that things get worse while we're strong now versus being drug out over a long period when we're weakened. I'm kind of starting to favor that theory, as bad as it might be in the short term.
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And again, socialism is a poor model, and it really doesn't work in the long run. And it's great for control freaks, people who want to control absolutely everything. They love socialism, but again, it can't work in the long run, because when you run out of other people's money, socialism stops.
I agree. Thanks for taking my call.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go, and we're going to switch over to Steve in West Virginia. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Oh, Steve, I'm going to put you on hold. I wasn't watching the clock. All right. Stay there. I'm going to come right back to you after these words from our sponsor.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective, and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the Energy Cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an Energy Cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an Energy Cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
The Republic Broadcasting Network late night premiere show of Red Pill Hardcore is hosted by activists that want to hear from you, the listeners. So that you can get involved in the activism, please call in at 800-313-9443 at 10 p.m. to enter the discussion. To book yourself as a guest, call our studio at 202-657-5715 or contact RBN staff. Remember, keep it real and take the red pill.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. But I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate. I want to do just
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Steve in West Virginia. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. First, I want to say I'm looking at you right now, and you're looking good. Your face is full, and you got a lot of color, and you look good. So,
thank you.
Just wanted to tell you that. I kind of disagree with what you're. I think that the Democrats are doing everything they can to lose the election by, for one, picking those two candidates. I mean, you couldn't get any worse, two worse candidates. I mean, Kamala Harris. I mean, she's got to be just a half an inch down from Hillary, and that's it. And Biden, and then letting these riots go on. I mean, that is going to hurt them more than anything. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Trump's new commercials. He's got that one. He's got one where the lady looks like Claire, and she's sitting in a seat, and somebody's knocking on her door. Have you seen that one yet?
No, I haven't.
You need to watch that. That is one of the best. Trump has got the best political advertisements I've ever seen. He's also got one. Have you seen the one they got called the Bidening?
Yeah.
Where Joe Biden creeps up behind that guy, and that's the best. That is the best political commercial I've ever seen in my life, and I'm, in my mid-50s. That there's nothing that even comes close to that from any campaign I could ever, remember. And then the one where the lady looks like Claire, and she's sitting in a seat by herself, and the Antifa people are knocking at her door. I mean, my God, he's going to blow. They don't have anything like that. I almost think this whole thing is a scam to get Trump elected. And one thing that hasn't been mentioned, what happens if Trump cheats? It seems like the NSA or somebody is got control all those voting machines, the electronic machines. And what if they cheat for Trump? I think Trump's going to win in a landslide. I'm not going to vote for him because he hasn't put any of these people in jail. And none of the, nothing's happened with any of these people. I mean, they've arrested this little lawyer, and that's it. But I'm talking about nobody has gone to jail for 10, 20, 50 years yet. No Clintons, none of these other people. None of these other people tied to Obama.
I'm agree.
Not going to vote for him. I'm not going to. It's a sham. And I don't know what's going to happen if they don't go to jail and he gets reelected. I mean, the people, I think his supporters are going to end up being really mad. But I'm telling you, Mike, watch those commercials. One other thing I got to say, Mike, real quick, I don't want no digital currency system. I mean, whoever wants that is crazy. They can take your wealth away from you. They can control everything. I mean, especially if it gets in the Democrats' hands. I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want it either. Okay, well, listen, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We got to take a break for station identification. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. We'll be right back.
Is your property a financial burden and causing you grief? Have you tried to sell but can't find buyers? Or are you just too busy to sell your property? Don't worry, we have the right solution for you. We buy properties as is, with cash, close in 30 days, and pay all closing costs. Our service is ideal for property owners who are in pre-foreclosure, have high-end repair costs, experiencing financial hardship, going through costly divorces, are relocating, need cash for retirement, suffering family loss, or have tax liens. Whatever your situation may be, we can help you sell your property and get the money you need. If you own a single family home or multiple family units, call us for a free consultation at 888-910-1037. That's 888-910-1037. Or visit our website at cachingproperty.com. That's cachingproperty.com. Sell your property fast and leave all your worries behind.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And welcome back to our show, hour number 2 here. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And watching Fox News, they just finished up the press conference with the family and attorneys for Jacob Blake. And I think they're probably going to have another very, very bad night in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Let's go back to the phones here to John in Tennessee. Hello, John. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike. Guess what town I moved to Nashville from?
I don't know.
Kenosha. I used to live up there. No, it was yeah. I used to live up there.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was my old stopping block. Yeah, I had a small package delivery job there in a whole area of Kenosha from 60th Street up into a little bit of Racine County. I know that area very well. And also, that's Paul Ryan's district.
Okay.
I was mentioning this because I'm getting, I'm talking to people in Kenosha trying to find out this, that, and the other. But, I mentioned it. Somebody said, that's Paul Ryan's district. And they're like, well, he's out of politics. Oh, no, you're never out of politics. A guy like him that rose to national prominence, a vice presidential candidate and Speaker of the House. I mean, you're going to have to keep me on track here, Mike, but all the callers, we have a common thread about what we're concerned about. And my concern's always been the same, that Trump is a Hitler figure. He was installed in power to be that. So he is going to win in a landslide because you set these fires, you set these cities on fire and you have the COVID thing and the electorate completely flipped out. Joe Biden is as bad a choice for a candidate as Bob Dole was. There's no way in hell anybody wants to fight. If this country's unraveling, nobody's going to pick Biden. But my concern is nobody knows any history. The Trump tards, and then, again, that includes some of your callers, because it's just, I'm talking to a guy who's a retired sheriff from Chicagoland. He just retired down here after 30 years. He was on the SWAT team.
Yes.
Okay, he knows Kenosha very well. He knows, like, every weekend, right? Chicago. Oh, there's 50 shootings in Chicago. Oh, there was 29 shootings. The record for one day. You know what? That's a 30 square block in Chicago. That's a no-go zone for the Chicago Police Department. That is not some national stat that gives Chicago a black eye. Those shootings happen all the time, and they happen in the same neighborhood, and the Chicago Police Department doesn't go in there unless they're in big numbers. So those are gang shootings and whatever else. But, no, what I want to get at is my concern is these people, the Trump guys. Like, again, we were talking before Trump was elected, right? We all thought that unemployment was really 22%, right? And then they were telling us, oh, it's 5%, which we all thought was a bunch of baloney. And then Trump inherits that economy, and he knocked unemployment down to 3.5%. We're supposed to believe that. So all these dumb Reagan Republicans think that again, Eric Trump last night. Listen to the crap that comes out of it. The greatest, Sean Hannity, every freaking hour of every day. The greatest economy in American history. The greatest recovery. Okay, well then, where are the receipts into the government? If the economy's booming like that, then where are the receipts, and why aren't you paying down the debt? See, it's all BS. Trump's about to eclipse Obama's spending in his first 4 years, and you can't tell that to any of these people. So the whole thing's a hoax. The whole thing's a lie. And my concern is we allied with Stalin in World War II. We allied with a communist. And the reason for that was to bring the socialism and the communism into Europe and pound Germany into the ground. Now, I'm no Hitler lover. That has nothing to do with it. But we know what Germany is, a manufacturing powerhouse and everything back then. So, the German war machine, what were they, 2 weeks away from back in Moscow?
Yes, they got really close.
Yeah, so, right. So if America was or is as great as Germany was, white Western country, however you want to categorize it, the problem is that Trump is, like I said, he's going to win in a landslide with this law and order crap. And what nobody understands is once that happens, I mean, again, imagine the stunt he pulled at Mount Rushmore. All the pomp and circumstance, all the patriotism, all the nationalism. I'm telling you, when this thing's over and he wins and you got this whole sea of people waving flags, to the rest of the world, he's going to look like Hitler, and all his supporters are mostly white. They're going to look like Nazis. And we're going to be the Germany of World War III because there is a plan to have global communism, and America's the last nation to fall. And Trump is just an actor. Trump was at Studio 54. Trump was on Epstein's plane. I mean, the guy was a casino mogul. How can any Christian in his right mind go, this is the guy, this is the guy? Trump is as dirty as the rest of them. And he has a big ego. Because, who would run for president of the United States if he didn't have that kind of an ego? So, again, the Q stuff is a lie. It was all hopium. It was all the 144,000 indictments or whatever number they gave us. That whole thing's a hoax. It's a lie. None of those people are going to jail. Oh, let me give you this number, too. I was talking to somebody else. The Paul Manafort, the whole Mueller investigation, right?
Mm-hmm.
They say that cost like $32 million. Wasn't that the number, about $32 million?
Yep.
Yeah, well, when they seized all of Paul Manafort's assets, that pretty much paid for it. See what I mean? So it didn't cost $32 million. We're all just getting played. And like I said, my concern is you see these cities burn, you're going to vote for Trump, for law and order, all these Republicans and patriots, they think Trump is so tough. And you know what? And I want to, take issue with you using the term brown shirts to describe BLM or Antifa. The brown shirts were Hitler's men to go out and get his political enemies. When Trump gets reelected and then goes and puts down the riot, he's going to be the one sending out the brown shirts. The authoritarians are the ones who run the brown shirts. They're not Bolsheviks or, a bunch of ragtag anarchists. The brown shirts are organized police for the authoritarian dictator. And that's what Trump will be, and that's what he'll be seen as on the world stage. And if China is going to be the next global superpower, which they probably are economically and everything else, we're going to have to submit to that system. That's what they want. They want the digital currency. They want to control everybody. George Carlin 101, what do they want? Obedient workers. They don't want us to dissent. They don't want us to have an opinion. They don't want us to learn how to run the store so we can set up our own business and then go compete against them. They want all that put to a stop. So America's the last nation to fall. And I'm sorry, Trump is an actor. He was selected just like anybody else. And just like the other caller said, if Trump wins, we're going to have the same problem. 50% of this country is a bunch of morons. They're communists. The young kids are stupid. And then all these Republican older guys like my age that I'm talking to, they don't know any history. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just concerned. Every time Trump is out there at a rally or whatever, you got a sea of white people just waving flags. And it looks nationalist. And the Democrats could get up there and just say, you know what, the last time we had a nationalist on the world stage as the head of a country, you know what we had to do to him, don't you? Again, that's what I'm afraid of. Is the people are going to have to take this country back and not look to the government for a solution to what's going on. So they'll try to start riots in some town, and the people in some town, like your other caller said, we're not going to put up with that. Don't bring that crap here. Don't even try. And it won't happen. But Kenosha, that's Paul Ryan's district. All these places, Portland, come on, what are we on, day 90? Somebody is enabling, encouraging, and allowing this to continue. They are. And again, we can't just sit here and be stupid and go, George Soros is doing it. Show me a check that George Soros wrote and sent to somebody that was responsible for Ferguson. At some point, these people out in the street that are rioting are going to go, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my welfare check. You know, so they'll stop. So I think this could be stopped at any time. But again, I'm not looking to the government for the solution. We are Americans. And again, can you pull out the Declaration of Independence when a long train of abuses and usurpations, evinces are designed to reduce the people under absolute despotism? It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government. Oh, those are strong words. We can't say that. Well, I'm sorry, it's in the Declaration of Independence, and the time has come to throw off this government. Not by us getting all crazy and violent or whatever, but we better stop sitting here. I mean, I called you and I told you I stopped voting. I had 3 callers after that call you up and go, oh, he's the problem. If he doesn't vote for Trump, it's a vote for Biden. I had all kinds of people bashing me. It's like, have you not seen this? This is RBN, for God's sakes. We all know that this two-party system is a joke. Both parties are communists. Both parties are taking us in the same trajectory. Anything that Jared Kushner and Nancy Pelosi stick under Trump's nose, he signs it. So why is Trump a savior? Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm pretty worked up.
You're obviously passionate there, and I'm not sure about characterizing Trump as a new Hitler. He's definitely nationalist, though, and he never made any secret about that. And I don't see a problem in and of itself with nationalism. I think Americans should be for America. And of course, the globalists are all up in arms about that. They hated the Make America Great slogan. And they really wanted to see the United States subsumed into this new world order. And Trump is standing in the way of that. Anyway, John, thanks an awful lot for the phone call. We're going to let you go here. Switch over to Jim in Illinois. Hello, Jim. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. Regarding the shooting in Kenosha, which is it's about maybe 40 or 50 miles from Chicago. I don't know what happened there. You mentioned that the guy had a problem with the police, and that the 3 of them, the 2 policemen and the young man that was shot, they were maybe fighting each other. But again, that's no excuse for shooting someone in the back 7 times. You remember
I
back
didn't
in
say
the
it
Western
was.
days?
And it turns out it was 8 times.
8 times. Back in the Western days, you don't ever shoot anyone in the back. Expressly, in this situation, he had his 3 kids in the car, and they saw everything. I really do believe that those guys, those policemen, they're going to be charged with either murder if the guy dies or attempted murder, because what else can you call that but, attempting to kill someone? And is it their training, or they don't care, or they feel like maybe they can get away with it? But it seems like every week there's a shooting.
More than that, I mean, there's the ones down in Louisiana now.
Right. And, and this is something that you stated. Is it the training that they get and they're being taught by the Israelis, or is there something else going on?
Well, we know that the police use antidepressants to a much greater extent than the normal population, and antidepressants can sort of get in the way of impulse control, and that would certainly explain pulling that trigger 8 times when once is really sufficient.
Right. And moving on to the Trump convention, that's what I call it. I will say this: the Republicans so far, they're looking better than the Democrats, even though I'm not happy with either party. But it seems like after listening to what happened last night at the convention, it's all about Trump. I don't see any major plans or any platform. It's like they're praising Trump for being there, and they want him there for another 4 years. And again, Biden and Miss Harris, I think they're going to lose because there's no energy there. And people are just so fed up. People are just so fed up. They're going to say, you know what? I'm not going to vote for either one of them. I'm just going to stay at home. And I don't think the Democrats are trying to steal the election. If anything, it might be the Republicans, because they might end up losing some seats in the House and the Senate. So it's going to be very interesting. But again, like you and I agree on, there's no leadership in this country. And it's killing everyone. Basically, there's no leadership.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right about that. Everybody's too busy, fighting for re-election and fighting for turf wars. And we really don't have any statesmen or stateswomen that are providing leadership for this country. It's everybody's just sort of marking time in politics.
Right. It's like a one big reality program, and it's hurting the country. People are suffering out there. It's really, really difficult. So again, I don't know. Michael, you take care, and God bless.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to switch over to Rick in Arizona. Hello, Rick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Rick, are you there? Okay. Looks like we may have lost Rick. So let's go to Mo in Florida. Hello, Mo. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. You got time for me, or do you have to go to a break?
I got time for you. What's up?
Well, Mike, that other caller that called in about Trump, he's like, that's exactly what I think's going on. You know that just a couple of things, and I want to get your thoughts on it. But I think that it's obvious that Trump he was talking the other night about how he's so proud of how much equipment, MRAPs, and everything he's given the police department, how he's beefed them up. He's got ties. I know Jared Kushner has got ties with George Soros. And everybody's painting him up like the big villain. What I think is going on, I want your take, is I think Trump is going to win in a huge landslide. Nobody's going to vote for these riots and this destruction. And what I think is going to happen, he's going to win in a huge landslide, which is part of the plan. And then there's going to be riots like we've never seen, because it's going to be white man wins, black man loses. That's how they're going to play it. And they are going to go nuts, because the black vice president woman didn't get in or whatever. And that's what they want. And then he's going to move in with all this military equipment that they've already given the police. And that's when the authoritarian thing's going to take over. And your other caller, I think, was exactly right. I think we're all being played. Come on. It's just too set up, Mike. What do you think?
Well, I think trying to get everybody to go along with that one plan would be very, very difficult. There are too many egos at play here. And I think Biden and his people are seriously trying to win the White House. I don't think they're going to win it. And as far as there being post-election riots, well, we saw that in 2016. And nobody came on out and brought down the authoritarian government then.
Well, I hope you're right, Mike. I really do, because this to me looks too set up. Because I really do think we're in, because we didn't have this COVID, this COVID overreaction thing, where it's come out now where, everybody pretty much that does any research knows that this thing is a pretty serious flu, whether it was bioengineered or not. But it was, this total lockdown was a psyop. And where the economy is, how much money this country is in debt into the multi-trillions, missing 30, 40 trillion dollars that the military's got, or whoever took it, parts of the military, the black budget. This is all coming to a head. There's a lot of people, Mike, and I think you're probably on top of more than anybody, that realize that, they couldn't, all wars are bankers' wars. Well, we got one coming here, and I think, just like you said, they're when everything else fails, they go to war. Well, we got one, I think we do have one coming here, Mike, because they couldn't cover. They couldn't fake this. Yes, there's going to be massive inflation. It's the only other option other than default, and we're not going to see that, I don't think. But I think it's set up. I think it's set up. This is a deflection for the financial collapse, using this whole election, black versus white, Democrat versus Republican garbage. And Trump is a perfect strongman for this. I thought he even said, like, maybe I was wrong. I thought he said at one of his speeches the other night that he hopes to have more than 4 more years. Did you hear that?
Yeah, but he came on out and said because the Democrats and all these bogus investigations had spoiled his first 4 years, that he thought he was owed an additional 4. But you know something? Every president going into their second term, is wistfully says, "Boy, I'd love to have a third term." So I'm not reading too much into that.
Well, God, I hope you're right, Mike, because I think we're being set up. He looks like a perfect strongman to me. I think we're going to have there's pent up frustration with people being locked down and wearing diapers and and jobs being lost, and that's my take on it, Mike. I've learned a lot from you, but I think your other caller, I mean, he's like he's saying exactly what I've been thinking for a long time, and I think it's just all a stage. It's a stage deal, and
I don't see Trump as a strong man, unfortunately. In fact, I see him as rather a weak leader and rather easily steered. Anyway, Mo, we got to let you go and take a break for commercial. We'll be back with more phone calls after these two words.
What would you say if I told you we have a new tool that will increase production and lower maintenance costs for your meat processing company? And it would pay for itself in just 6 weeks.
When pigs fly!
The new EaseOff Model EZ4 replaces old spring-style carcass droppers and is faster, safer, and more reliable. The EaseOff lowers or lifts 1,000 pounds to or from your rail automatically using our remote control.
Sounds expensive. Can I afford it?
Can you afford not to try the EaseOff? It installs fast with just 3 bolts in place of your current dropper. The effortless operation will reduce fatigue and injuries, speed up your line, eliminate downtime, and increase profit.
How can I order my EaseOff?
Go to easeoff.com, EAZEOFF.com, and hurry because we are offering $200 off on the new EZ4 for a limited time. Easeoff.com. We make pigs fly. Cows too. EaseOff LLC, Summersville, Missouri, 417-932-6419.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight. Women.
Welcome back to our show here. We're going to go right back to the phones to Frank in Pennsylvania. Hello, Frank. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Okay, Mike. Yeah, thank you so much for taking my call. I just have a question because I know you're a student of history. The reason why the Soviets backed down from the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I was told this by a World War II vet, is that the Soviet army was so depleted fighting the Nazis, it didn't have the manpower to take and hold ground. Do you think any truth to that, Mike?
It might be, but I think ultimately it was the fear of a nuclear exchange which caused Khrushchev to back down on that issue.
Right. Well, I just thought it was really amazing. I just remember that because the guy last caller when I called talk about Nazis and everything, and that just dawned on me. I remember I was told that, many, many years ago that actually Hitler's army stopped World War III because the Soviets were so depleted, they lost over 2 million soldiers. And the next
Yes.
question I have, Mike, is why didn't Biden pick Tulsi Gabbard as the VP? Why did he pick her? Why did he pick Harris? And we know they're going to lose because Harris is not a ball of fire. Tulsi Gabbard was probably the closest one speaking the truth. But why didn't Biden pick her?
I really don't know. I'm not privy to that. I mean, I think probably the fact that Tulsi is very genuinely anti-war sort of was a black mark against her right from the get-go. And, she had a lot of political force arrayed against her right from the very, very start. I wanted her to succeed. If she'd moved forward in the primaries, I mean, I would have been out there campaigning for her.
Absolutely, I would have been too. But the Democrats are a disaster. Biden, we know he's losing it. But if Tulsi was the VP and she became president, she's much more suited to that office than Kamala, in my opinion, because I think she's worldly enough to know war is bankers' wars. We know that. And war is a waste of resources, men, material, everything else. And she understood the dynamics of war. And like that last caller said, we're probably going to go to another war pretty soon. But with Tulsi at the helm, we pretty much everything would have been done to avoid another war.
Well, it raises an interesting question. Under the Constitution, only Congress can declare war. I'm wondering if a president could actually veto that like any other congressional bill.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the last caller was right. We are being played by both parties because we can see, one is around patriotism and one is around change and everything. But we're just being played again by the big boys at the top. And, probably Trump will win. And I can see why. But the Democrats really dropped the ball on this one. They had much better candidates to failed out there besides Biden. And we know Biden is already pretty much out of it. And his VP pick will be no better. I think she was despised in California. She dropped out first from the race. It should have been Tulsi. And I just don't understand why they want to make this race competitive, but it puts us weak competition against Trump. Really? Why would they do that?
I don't know. I mean, Biden's about the worst candidate they could have picked. And, if they were seriously thinking, well, this is just going to be a throwaway election, Trump's reelection is guaranteed. But I'm not getting that read from the Democratic leadership. I think they really think they've got a chance to make Trump a one-term president. Certainly, I know that Hillary Clinton is out there pushing for that.
She would have been more competitive than Biden. Biden would have been competitive in 2016, but I think Hillary would have been more competitive than Biden. Biden, forget it. I was watching his speech, and you can see the guy is clearly not all together mentally. And he's just, 2016, he would have had a really good competitive chance. Usually the VP runs after the president's done, and that would have been really competitive. But it seems like the Democrats are just throwing this election away, like you said. Maybe they're looking at 2024 to regroup. I don't know what's going on, but I don't think we got really good choices out there between me and you, Mike. I think
no, we don't. We don't. I'm voting for Trump only because I can't vote for Biden.
I'm going to vote for Trump too because I can't vote for Biden either. I don't think he's competent, and I'm not voting for the VP pick. I would have voted for the VP pick if it was Tulsi Gabbard, but they threw her away, and it was a shame. I loved her speeches. When she was in the Democratic primaries, I was constantly tuning into her. Really good messages, really mature, a really confident person. She understands the dynamic of this country. She's seen young men being blown apart when she was a vet, combat vet in the medical department. She really understands the dynamics of what this country faces. And the Democrats threw her away, Mike. They threw her under the bus. So, poor choices. Thank you so much, Mike.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go and switch over to Starfire in Pennsylvania. Hello, Starfire. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hi, Mike. I was just going to say, everybody's saying bad about Trump and the other ones too. It's our country. It is up to us to vote and get this country back on track, not just keep bashing everything. It is no good to do that. Me, do I like Trump as a person? No. But I'll vote for him because what is the alternative?
Okay,
gonna-
Starfire, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. We got to take another break for commercials, and I'll be right back to you after these words from our sponsors.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Amazon customer, 5 out of 5 stars. I'm quite happy about it. This product has relieved what appears to be an angina problem, pain in the chest after climbing stairs, and short on breath. I'm quite happy about it. Dr. Sam Surreal. Good product and ingredients. Kept my blood pressure normal after mild heart attack in 2015. Switched to plant-based diet also to reverse atherosclerosis. John Bispicos, 5 out of 5 stars. Built up my immune system. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, 2, keep it today.
What this country is coming to, I sure would like to know. If they don't do something by and by, the rich will live and the poor will die. Doggone, the panic is on. Can't get no way, can't draw no pay.
Welcome back to our show. Here we're talking with Starfire in Pennsylvania, who says she does not like Trump personally. I can't make the same comment. I've never met the man, but she's going to vote for him anyway. And you were explaining to us why.
The reason why, my people, he's done many bad things to us. But what is the alternative? You think Biden is going to get in there and last? No, they're going to kick him out on a crazy thing, and they're going to put her as president, and they're going to get Hillary as vice president.
I've heard that.
That's what's going to happen. You wait and see. I might be only a woman, but I got enough sense to figure that out.
No, you're not the first person to have suggested that. And of course, that would put a bullseye on Kamala Harris' backside as well.
Mm-hmm. And then who would be president?
Hillary.
Aha. And then Pelosi would probably be her vice president.
That would be a scary thought.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Boy, it's the
that's a
three
bad
witches from Macbeth.
do what, Mike? I'm sorry.
Sorry?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I said it's like the three witches from Macbeth.
Oh, yeah. Ball and trouble. That's what it's going to be.
Yes.
But oh, I sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was simply agreeing with you. Anything else?
No, Mike, that's all I want to say, except to say to your lovely wife, hi.
Well, she says hi
Bye-bye.
back to you. Thank you very much for the phone call. We're going to switch to Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day, Michael. Yeah, Michael, I want to say yesterday, Paul calls me out all the time. He condescends on me. He belittles me. He fact checks me. That's fine. But Paul, what I want you to know, Paul, is, you can fact check me all you want, but Joe Biden, and I know a couple of the other callers are calling, they're not going to vote for Trump. Like you said, they're not even going to vote. So, and if they do vote, you can tell their politics what it is. It surely isn't for I think it's more for the demonic side than the righteous side, because now they're calling me out all the time. Now, and your other caller that called in, the gentleman who just called in prior to why he picked Harris. Well, Joe Biden realizes, Michael, that if you don't get at least 8% of the black vote, which he wouldn't if you were to pick a white woman like Tulsi Gabbard, he wouldn't even have a chance, because Trump's probably going to get 20% of the black vote or more. And like I said, you got to wake up the blacks in this country, because look at these cities that are run by Democratic mayors for the last 100 years, 70 years, 80 years. It's unbelievable. Atlanta, Baltimore, Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia. Well, not Philadelphia as much, but you got all these black mayors. Look at the crime rate in these cities over the last 50 years. So, and then this guy Paul wants to call me out all the time about, you know what? And you do the research, my friend, and let's hear what your figures are. And I can tell you, there was almost 8,000 Afro-Americans killing each other last year. Okay? So, now, Mike, what's happened over there in Osho, Wisconsin is not cool. But again, these cops must be under tremendous strain, because they're breaking the law, and people don't want to respect the police officers. And why should they? Because the Democrats are letting them run ramshod around our country. These mayors are criminal. You got 8.5 million illegals in California, and you only got 5.5 million, 6 million Republican registered voters. The Democrats, I guess they're in probably the 9 to 10 million registered Democrats in the state of California. That's why the whole state's always blue. Same with New Jersey. There's no hardly there might be some independents in Jersey or New York, but most of them are Democrats. And what have they done in the last 70 years, Mike? They ran this country into the ground. And he was calling me out yesterday about immigration. This guy Paul was calling me about immigration, well, you know what? Kennedy and Quayle are the two biggest sponsors of that bill in 1965, Paul. Okay? And they were Democrats. However, there were some rhino Republicans even in that day when it comes to immigration. And Eisenhower knew it back in the late 50s what was going to happen to this country. Okay? Just like they knew basically Cuba was going to turn communist. By not giving Kennedy not giving them air support. You ever hear of the Bay of Pigs, Mike? I'm sure you have.
Yes.
I know a lot of Cubans that lost their families over there in that operation. A lot of them. Okay? I've been to Cuba, like I told you, Mike. I know what communism is about. I've seen it with my own eyes, firsthand, a few times. And it ain't pretty. And you're lucky if you get a chicken in your pot. You'll never take a hot shower unless you put the water on the stove. And you better not drink the water over there because you'll end up with Montezuma's revenge, especially if you're not used to it. So, to have me called out and fact check me and condescend me all the time, that's fine. I don't care. Hey, I'm a big boy. I can take it, Mike. But you know what? I can take it. I can always push it out. And like I said, I see what these Democrats are up to, and that guy's asking you why Kamala Harris instead of Tulsi. Well, there's your answer, because Biden needs to get at least 80% of the black vote to even have a chance. Because if the black, like I told you yesterday, when they wake up and 50% of them want to realize how they've been used for the last 70 years, they would vote Republican. They wouldn't vote for a Democratic Party that just started the KKK and all that. Come on, who's kidding who here? But evidently they've been herded like shit, and that's why they're voting Democrat in the majority. 82%. I think Trump got 14% last election. Am I right, Mike?
Something like that.
So if Donald Trump, can you imagine? Can you imagine, Mike, if Trump were to get 2 or 3% more to black vote this election? What would happen?
Well, again, the question is, with the shall we put it delicately, inaccuracies in our voting system, it's going to be hard to tell. We may have seen massive vote fraud in 2016 that was primarily focused on the black vote.
Well, I have to totally agree with you on that. And, Mike, it's just, hello?
Yes. You're on the air. Tom? I guess we lost Tom. So let's switch over to Pat in Fort Worth. Hello, Pat.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, Mike, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here, Tom. What's going on?
No, I don't know. Something I got cut off. I don't know what happened there for a second. I went under a power pole and I got cut off. Anyway, what I want to say is this. I'll let it go. I know you got another caller, but what I want to say is, this country right now, like the lady caller just called it, we got a major choice to make. Do we want to go down the dark path of all the cities keep burning up with the Democrats in control, or do we want to have some law and order in this country? Look at Chicago again over the weekend. 18 shot. Philadelphia. Cincinnati had a big shooting. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And we're hearing about this kid that got shot in Wisconsin. The tape is saying it, but I suppose this guy was hit with 2 tasers before he went to the car. He was running to the car.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
I heard he was hit with 1 taser.
I heard 2. I don't know if it's 1 or 2. I could have swore I heard it on Fox. They said 2 tasers hit him. So I know he's hit with at least 1. But Mike, again, they don't want to follow the law. The law is being broken. But you know what? I don't know. In a couple of years, I don't think in a couple of years that people are going to even want to be a cop. No way. You're going to have to pay those. You can have to pay those cops like $100,000 a year to even consider it a job. I believe. I don't know. To be a cop nowadays is like it's like being a Vietnam veteran. When they came back, how they were, ostracized and everything. I think that's what's happening to these police officers. And there's some bad rotten egg cops. There's no question about it. Absolutely. But you know what? The majority of those cops are actually trying to do their job and do it well. And and the way the cops are being treated by the media is absolutely insane. It's insane how they're treating these law enforcement officers. It's terrible. I really believe it's pitiful. And there's, like I said, Mike, rotten eggs everywhere. There's rotten eggs in all kinds of, government. And what are you going to do? But, again, Mike, another thing they don't talk about is they never talk, and I want you to bring this up and I'll hang up. You never talk about all these black police officers that kill blacks. Only when a white officer kills a black person or a minority, then it's a big sensationalized news. But if a black officer, which is, I believe it's out of the 9 blacks who were shot in 2019, I believe 6 of those blacks were shot by other black cops.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a bias in the news. It's like I said earlier in the show. Where are the protests for that 5-year-old white kid who was shot execution style by his black neighbor? Why are we not seeing protests about that?
You got that right, Mike. And like I said, when a black police officer shoots another black or Hispanic, nobody says a darn word. But when a white Anglo light-skinned man shoots a black man, he's a racist. It's all racist, race. But you know what, Mike? I wish you would really pull up with the statistics tomorrow on your show. And I don't know if it's on White Man's Burden yet, but I want you to pull up the statistics whenever day you can, Mike, and show your audience the FBI statistics, the black on white crime compared to white on black crime in the whole genre of crime. I want you to pull up and read that to how many whites have committed crimes against blacks compared to blacks committing robberies, rapes, and all that. Blacks committing on white. That's what I would really like you to put that number out there.
Okay,
And,
I'll look at that tomorrow.
That little boy did not have any kind of a major blast like this guy's getting for being shot in the back. The little kid got shot in the head right from his two little sisters, murdered, okay? And nobody hardly made a big deal about it. The liberal networks wouldn't even talk about it, Mike. They wouldn't even talk about it. They kept it quiet. That's all. They're trying to dummy down